Hi, this is Patrick Conroy, and we're doing Chapter 2, Ethics and Professional Responsibility. Now, in this program, we have a whole course devoted to this. So in this course, we just sort of introduce it as it applies sort of to civil litigation process and procedures. But you'll be learning a lot more about these concepts in the other class. Learning objectives. Analyze situations to determine if they involve the unauthorized practice of law. 2, describe the ethical obligation owed by managing and supervising attorneys of appropriate hiring, delegating, and supervising matters of the legal team. Understand the concept of conflict of interest for the legal profession. Explain what is considered confidential under the ethical guidelines. Explain the rationale for the obligations of candor and fairness in litigation. Learning objective 1, we'll break down analyzing situations to determine if they involve the unauthorized practice of law. Now, unauthorized practice of law, often referred to as UPL, is a term that will come up a lot in all of your courses. It's because there's really strict rules about who can practice law and who cannot, and what practice of law means. And paralegals are not authorized to practice law. Ethics are known as usually what's minimally accepted standards of conduct in a profession. That's kind of what we mean when we talk about business ethics. It's a little bit different because often these ethics have been adopted as rules. The ABA, American Bar Association, has the model rules of professional conduct. And these are a set of proposed ethical standards for the legal profession. And then these have been adopted by most states, including ours. And so it's important that you understand that ethics is not just the minimally accepted standards of conduct in a profession, it's often the legal standard. Okay, so important ethical obligations of an attorney and the rest of the legal team. Competency. Confidentiality of information. You can't even tell people that you're representing a specific client. Conflicts of interest. Candor towards the tribunal, the judge, court. Fairness to the opposition, and the duty to supervise. Paralegal and licensing. Few jurisdictions have mandatory licensing requirements for paralegals. And definitely not in Louisiana, Mississippi, the states nearby. Some states do on the West Coast. Some jurisdictions require licensure in order to perform certain functions. And legislation seeks to regulate unsupervised tasks by freelance paralegals. These are paralegals who take on projects with lawyers, but they still kind of work for themselves. Penalties there are strict penalties for the unauthorized practice of law. Giving legal advice. If legal rights might be affected by anyone not licensed to practice law. So you will be learning a lot about the law as you become a paralegal, but you can't give legal advice even to your friends and family, because that crosses the line into the unauthorized practice of law. It does create dilemmas for paralegals, and it's a fine line between what's lawful and what is considered unauthorized practice of law, UPL. And there is the potential for criminal and civil liability for UPL. Okay, some easy ways to avoid UPL. Don't hold yourself out as someone who can give legal advice. Always inform the parties with whom one is dealing with that one is not a lawyer. Be certain not to mislead others by identifying yourself as, you can say, I'm not an attorney, I am a paralegal. I don't know who Mr. Jones is. You can even get in trouble with business cards. They should, You can have the name of the law firm and your name, but you have to make clear that you're not one of the lawyers at that law firm. So you should include the word paralegal. Even in your signature block, in your signatures where you have the block, those should say paralegal. Avoid giving advice. If legal rights are going to be affected, he's most likely giving advice. So you can talk about the law, but if someone comes to you with their particular problem and you're going to give legal advice, you can't do that. And it can be difficult to determine. Be careful of social setting, friends, family in need of a little help. Because you don't want them going up in front of the judge and saying, this is, my friend such and such is a paralegal and she told me this. Now some forms you can fill out. It's best if you can fill it out on behalf of a client who's telling you what to put in most places. You can sort of help them with the form as long as you're not giving legal advice, like put your name here, put your address here, describe the issue here. Avoid UPL. You don't have clients. You work with a lawyer, and the lawyer has clients. Some jurisdictions permit paralegals to represent clients in certain proceedings. These are usually more of administrative, like Social Security Administration, or small claims courts sometimes, or, just small little administrative rather than legal courts. Avoiding the UPL guidelines. As I said, paralegals and legal assistants should disclose their status at the outset of any professional relationship with a client, or with other lawyers, or a court or administrative agency or personnel thereof, or members of the general public. Paralegals and legal assistants should reaffirm and remind others frequently of their status. Paralegals and legal assistants should not establish attorney-client relationships. The attorney has the attorney-client relationship. The paralegal has a relationship with the attorney and is acting on the attorney's behalf. Paralegals cannot set their legal fees with clients, or give legal opinions or advice, or represent a client before a court unless authorized to do so by said court, nor engage in or encourage or contribute to any act that can contribute to the unauthorized practice of law. Yeah, lawyers don't want anybody stepping on their toes. Learning objective 2, describe the ethical obligation owed by managing and supervising attorneys or appropriate hiring, delegating, and supervising members of the legal team. They have a duty to supervise. The supervising attorney is ultimately responsible for the ethical conduct of everyone on the legal team. Ethical obligations are enforced by the court in the jurisdiction where the lawyer practices or where the case is being tried. So the lawyer should be looking over everything you do, directing what you can do. If you prepare pleadings or something like that, the lawyer should be looking over them and the lawyer signs them. Be careful that your lawyer doesn't try to get you to do something that's unethical. Ethical guidelines and rules. We go over some of the statewide rules in legal ethics. There's really nothing that's just for paralegals, but some of the professional associations have guidelines. So if you want to be a member of one of the paralegal associations, which is voluntary, they will have guidelines. 2 major legal assistant organizations provide an ethical code for their paralegal members: National Federation of Paralegal Associations and National Association of Legal Assistants. Those are voluntary organizations. It's not like the bar. Okay, we're going to stop this presentation here and pick up in a minute with the other learning objectives.